Hi, I'm Chris. This is Reality Shadowban, and this is example 3 in this series, um, talking about belief systems installed. I have it as suggested. These beliefs that are suggested to you, so you can kind of try them on, and they use all kinds of ways to do that, like movies and a lot of popular media, just how they portray themselves on these electronic devices, with the outfits they use. So they suggest the systems that and the way they speak, the language they use, the vocabulary they use, the breadth of it, and the changes of the vocabulary, and yeah, all that stuff is suggested belief systems. And then you are kind of encouraged to borrow it and just to try it on, and during that borrowing process, it gets reinforced through different means. A lot of advertising that you see is actually positive reinforcement after you've bought, to avoid buyer's remorse. That's most of advertising, so it kind of reinforces that you're a good decision. It doesn't actually get you to the decision beforehand. That's the theory, but what's actually happened is you're being encouraged, like, hey, yeah, I did the right thing. I'm patted on the head, basically. And you'll notice that if you look at the advertising that way, it makes a little more sense, especially Apple. Apple is the master of making you have no buyer's remorse. So anyway, that's off topic. I'm going to stay on topic with these installed, suggested, borrowed, and installed belief systems. I'm going to show a clip of Truth Stream Media, which they look like they've been shadow banned, which is awesome, because it means they're probably over the target. And if you haven't checked out this stuff, it's pretty good. She goes pretty slow, so I'm going to speed it up so she can we can get through this. But so she's going to define belief, and then we're going to hear a clip that she chose, and then I'm going to kind of talk about how that might relate to what the age of mislabel, scam, and cope has to do with it.
I mean, just think about the concept of science. We live in a supposedly scientific era. But science wouldn't be science without the ability to alter itself as new information of merit is discovered and becomes available.
Yeah, that was one of the things that kind of shocked me about the whole Roni Roni situation, is that people had no idea where the science is, and that was that whole dual meaning. I've got a video about that, how they got two levels of psyops, and they have the science, but that's actually when the regime talks about science, they're talking about the priesthood, of the scientism, which is actually not science at all, because with the scientism that they have with the priesthood, the elite currently have, that is more about consensus, group consensus, which is a component of science, but is not the component. It's good to have feedback from people, but if people don't want to see it, the science still stands if it's actually can be reproduced. Now, if somebody chooses not to reproduce it, or chooses to fuck it up, or chooses to foul it up, but if people are all honest actors, which is rarely the case in science, come on, if you've studied it all, that's the other thing too, is that the people who are gung-ho about science don't understand it's a process of getting to the truth, not ending up somewhere. So when they got that whole that science is settled statement, oh man, I knew it was off the rails at that point, and that people that went along with it, and people actually argued with me about it, and actually used it as a slogan. I was like, oh no, okay, okay. We've entered the delusional land. I'm gonna let her keep going.
Otherwise, humanity would still be crawling around on its hands and knees in the nether realms of the Dark Ages, and humanity will return to those nether realms if they don't get this under control. Because once you start stripping out that part of science and strip that away from science, and you say, no, it's just all consensus, we're not going to look at opposing information, we're not going to consider opposing information, we're not even going to allow other people to consider it, we are going to shut down debate, we're going to shut down opposition, what you get left with is dogma.
It's just a dogmatic belief system. It's just a new the new Inquisition, and no one ever expects the Spanish Science Inquisition.
Fine if that's what they want to do with it, but stop trying to pretend that that's scientific anymore, because that's not. Ultimately, what this all comes down to is belief. Humanity's beliefs. The control over what that is. This definition of the noun belief that I'm about to read to you comes from my super huge old 19th century Webster's dictionary. This definition says that belief, the noun belief, means to assent to a proposition or affirmation, or the acceptance of a fact, opinion, or assertion as real or true without immediate personal knowledge.
Right, that's the issue. Without immediate personal knowledge. And what they're doing is they're not even doing immediate personal knowledge. Now they're doing simulated knowledge, right? So all the people they saw that thought they saw the lunar lander land on the moon, Buzz Aldrin says, no, that was all an animated toy on a set just to show what it's like, not actually what happened. So yeah, that didn't happen. Yeah, so stuff like that. It's like we don't have you're not allowed to have firsthand knowledge, or even given the tools or the one of the major things is there's no way to prove the stuff. That's a pretty good indication that you're under a mind control operation of some sort. They want to make you believe something bullshit, because if they don't have a way for you to independently prove it on your own,
reliance upon word or testimony, partial or full assurance without positive knowledge or absolute certainty, persuasion, conviction, confidence. So then to believe, the verb, is to exercise belief in, to credit upon the authority or testimony of another, to be persuaded of the truth of upon evidence furnished by reasons, arguments, and deductions of the mind, or by circumstances other than personal knowledge, to regard or accept as true, to place confidence in, to think, to consider, as to believe a person, a statement, or a doctrine.
Otherwise known as in finance counterparty risk. You're trusting that this other person that you may or may not know, but have gained their trust through confidence tricks. All the CIA stuff that they do, that those techniques, they're all public now. If you can go look into them, so how they can hook people. And yeah, so there's all kinds of ways people can get hooked in, money, pussy, fame, fortune, or did it for the cause. Yeah, those are the main four. So if you can hook people in one of those, or all three, or two, or four, or all of them at once, yeah, you got it. And that's what we're working through right now. Is we've got liars at the helm barking orders into into this thing, and people with the Eliza effect, they think it's real. The Eliza effect. They think the stuff coming through the electronic devices is actually real. Yeah, they really do believe that.
To have a persuasion approaching certainty. So, first of all, if someone truly believes what he or she is saying, that's what that means to believe. A belief is something approaching certainty. If I believe something, it means I'm basically pretty certain in what I'm asserting. What about that definition sounds very fragile to you? I mean, that's basically certainty. It shouldn't be fragile. If my beliefs are so delicate and so fragile that I have to bully and coerce others to try and force them to agree with my beliefs to the exclusion of all others.
Yeah, so that's another clue too. If they have to bully you or threaten you, another clear indication that you are being fucked with.
To try and have them confirmed over and over again and hide everything else that isn't what I believe, that kind of shows a weakness in my beliefs, doesn't it? I mean, engaging in that type of behavior is actually kind of evidence that the person.
Trust the science. See, that's just that phrase right there. That's an MK Ultra phrase. That's definitely a CIA theater shadow play, Elizabethan theatrics, a little bit of stage magic, a little bit of the razzle dazzle, a little bit of look at this hand while I do something over here. Yeah, that's a lot of this deception stuff. So, one of the first things predators need to get their prey, which is, people who don't understand what's going on with this stuff, is they have to camouflage themselves, look like something else, so the prey has no idea that they're even around. And they also have to have bait, so they have to have a way of drawing people in, because it becomes exhausting running after stuff. So they don't do the running after stuff. A true predator will not do that. They'll just lay out the bait, wait for the thing to come and snatch, and then move on with their day.
The person who's doing it may not really believe what they claim to believe. It's like putting up a billboard about how fragile the merits of one's views really are. And people are going to question it just based on that. When censorship and
yeah, because you've been on the planet a long time, humans love to run this shit. This is what they're doing, and they're encouraged to, because the people they look up to are all doing it. They're all doing the same shit, and they all think they're all getting away with it. They all think that nobody can see it, but some of us can see it. Now, most people can't for some reason, even though it's like right in your face. And that's the other part of this whole thing about that makes humans fucked up, is once you get the belief pattern installed, it's very difficult to get it out. In fact, it's almost impossible. People would rather, a lot of them would rather die then uninstall a belief pattern that's been installed and taken on as their own, where they, where the mind control agents who put this together have designed it so it self embeds and self reinforces without even them being around.
Coercion and force are applied to knowledge, it doesn't garner trust. It doesn't garner respect. It doesn't mean people actually believe in their minds whatever that is if they're having to be forced to pledge allegiance to whatever that is. They're not allowed to make a choice and decide for themselves. I mean, what that actually does is it sends out a signal, right? That the supposed truth is too fragile to stand up to scrutiny, which, taking that a step further, implies that it might not actually be true. And when we believe in something, we grant a type of authority to the source, right? That authority is a type of credit that we as humans seem to forget or don't realize we're issuing all day long, and we issue it in something when we believe in it. We're extending credit to the source, and we're granting it authority over our perceptions, which is what forms our reality.
Now, most people don't have the privilege of researching these debates. People don't have the privilege because they're working 9 to 5, a minimum wage, and they're hungry, and they're just busy trying to live and survive.
Yeah, so I understand. And you are a privileged person because you're into this, down in this rabbit hole of this video. Yeah, so I get it. You're a privileged person that can see through this, but most people are longer no interested, not interested. They would never go into a video about this for this long, and or a series this long. So we have to understand that most people, they aren't interested in this. They just want to live their lives, and that's the problem. That's the problem. They just want to live their lives, and they become sheep. And the people at the top know they're going to let people like us go. They have to let us go. They have to let us leave or be involved. They have to let us leave or be involved. They won't let us fight it. That's one thing they will not do. And that's all this COINTELPRO stuff is, to flush those people out of the woodwork who may. That's the idea. Is like, we're gonna flush them out because they'd be doing it anyway. To go against, well, it's like, what are they going against exactly? What are you protecting exactly? So that's where it gets gray area, and you just don't even want to get into that. Just don't even want to get into it. You just kind of want to see it, step away. Now, if you're going to stay in the United States, you got to get out of the cities because they're about to get fucked. But if you can get out of the country, there's other countries that are past this already and aren't going to go through all the baloney. And you can still do the arbitrage with English and the U.S. dollar. So there's ways out of this thing. You don't have to go into this baloney crap that's being set up. But okay, I'll stop talking. Let's keep continuing.
Searching these debates. People don't have the privilege because they're working 9 to 5, a minimum wage, and they're hungry, and they're just busy trying to live and survive. What they normally do is they outsource their thinking on where the truth lies to trusted voices in the media. So it's why it becomes so important to manipulate the media, so that those trusted voices that people are looking to are no longer giving them at least the best understanding of the truth they have, but are also peddling the agenda of power. When you're in a situation like that, it becomes difficult to define reality and therefore difficult to challenge government on whether or not they are sticking to their promises, because everything gets shifted, everything's relative. The Overton window keeps moving.
But that authority is hollow and inauthentic if it has to be attained through these illegitimate means or has to be propped up or, quote, enforced via censorship and coercion.
Right. It's just, I mean, that says it right there. Just because they got to use censorship and coercion, they're fucking with it. Because the other stuff that they don't care about, that's not important, that they're not working on at that moment, they let that slide. So you can tell when they're doing the fuckeries because they put all this stuff in overdrive and they won't want people looking at it. So that's pretty obvious. So it is difficult to try and go through and figure out where your belief patterns have come in. And maybe I can get into that at some point. I've always kind of been on the outside just because I was a military brat, moved around all the time, and I get a set of friends and have to give them up, and get another set of friends and give them up. And when you're near the new kid all the time, especially if your parents have divorced, they don't tell you that there's some people you just don't really shouldn't be around. Or it turns out that most of the people are doing the same crap and they're all divorced and they're all parents are all working all the time and you can get in trouble after school. Yeah, I didn't know. Okay. Anyway, that's enough rambling. This is Chris. I am on Reality Shadowban, and this is the series about the age of Mislabel, Scam, and Cope.